Hi, I'm Sarah Cowgill, along with Andrew Moran, Jim Fight, Jeff Charles, and Scott Cosenza. And this is the Conservative 5, Liberty Nation's online TV news program. After years of debate, it appears the federal government is close to legalizing marijuana. The Cannabis Administration and Opportunity Act, and I guess we all know what that opportunity part means, is under congressional consideration. If passed, it decriminalizes weed and allows for individual states to decide how best to regulate its use. Pun intended here. Is this legislation really a joint effort, or will it go up in smoke? Scott, what is the biggest hurdle legalizing weed faces?
Well, I'll take the question literally. It is not a joint effort, just to be clear. This is an effort by Chuck Schumer and Cory Booker and one other member of the Congress. They've introduced the bill without text associated with it. So if you go to, I think it's congress.gov and look up this bill, which was introduced by Booker, it'll just say there's been no text that's been submitted with it. Okay. Then if you kind of do the research, you can go to the Senate Democrat webpage where they do list a bill that is 296 pages long. Now, I have skimmed this bill, but I have not read 296 pages of it. And I suspect neither has Mr. Booker nor Mr. Schumer. So this is one of these things where it's so big, the actual sort of decriminalization, if you will, of weed is only a minor part of it. The rest of it is chock-a-block full of giveaways, special programs, and all kinds of layers of bureaucracy just crushing basically marijuana. They've done exactly the wrong thing, basically. And I suspect it'll go down and not pass because of all the kind of socialism that's built into this proposal rather than a simple, let's get the federal government out of prohibiting marijuana.
So why are we hearing on every cable news outlet, in every newspaper, it's a joint bipartisan effort? Why are we hearing that?
Because that's the narrative they want you to hear, Sarah. I mean, look,
that's simple enough.
there's two great noble ideas here, right? Let's get the federal government out of the tyranny of controlling other people's individual bodies, what you do with your own body, and while we're at it, let's say that this is something everybody wants. This is a bipartisan effort. The truth of the matter doesn't really matter. I mean, if you think politicians are too hung up on the truth, then you haven't really been paying attention to politics.
The legislation is filled with these sops towards, it's been communities of color that have been most negatively affected by marijuana prohibition. So we've got to pile on incentives for them. I'm shocked I didn't see anything regarding like trans women of color, just to like throw an additional popular, beneficiary, rather than just simply, if they really wanted to make marijuana federally legal, they could have a stripped down bill. They only need 10 U.S. senators. You could find 10 libertarian-ish, especially on weed, senators that would go along with a stripped down, pared down, simple. We're going to reclassify marijuana as something that is, legal. And then you'd get all the access points to banking, for instance, which is one of the things that keeps this sort of thing on the margin. But, the Reason Foundation, the publishers of Reason Magazine, they did this study recently, and they examined California's legalization scheme. And what they found was that the taxes and the costs associated with it are so high that I think at least a third or maybe even 2/3 of the marijuana sold in California is basically illegal weed. It's not sold through these shops because of the government imposition on legally being able to do so. And that's exactly the model that Schumer and Booker have adopted for their proposal here.
So, yeah, and here's my thing. They were able to get the White House to fund the distribution of crack pipes in the Black community for racial equity, but Democrats, despite saying that they champion Black people, can't pass a law legalizing marijuana when everybody, including conservatives, think it should be done. They don't really want to do this. And it's interesting to me that a lot of the resistance to this supposed bill is coming from Democrats themselves. This is just another one of those things that they were doing to try to gain favor because they're going to get their butts kicked in the upcoming congressional elections, and they want to always make it look like they care about communities of color, like Scott alluded to, but they really don't. They could do this easily, and they're choosing not to. So that's the question. Why are they choosing not to?
Joe Biden does not favor legalizing or liberalizing our marijuana laws. He's been against it every
Those
time he's
crack
had an
pipes.
he may say some things that are the opposite of it, but anytime he's actually had the opportunity to change the law or make a rule change about it, he has never lifted a finger. And in fact, a year ago today, or maybe a month and a year ago today, we were talking about these half a dozen or more Biden administration employees who got fired after moving their lives to D.C. to serve under the Biden administration when they were signaling that their past marijuana use wouldn't restrict their employment. So these are people who were going to be White House staffers, but because they used marijuana in the past, they got fired from their job. So Joe Biden is very much an anti-weed guy, and he doesn't favor legalization of marijuana.
I mean, do we really even know what he favors? He shakes hands with invisible people pretty frequently. So, I mean, honestly, what he says is always, always, always redefined by the White House minions that go, oh, well, he didn't mean he had cancer right now. He said he might have had cancer back in the day. I mean, how do you even know what the guy thinks?
Just look at what he does. More black people are in jail or in prison because of Joe Biden than any KKK racist cop in the country.
And he's still doing it. And I'm glad you brought that up, Scott, because you're right. Biden is not for legalizing marijuana. It sounds like he still has the same beliefs he did back when he supported that crime bill.
That was all Joe.
I think legalizing marijuana should be a slam dunk, what with most of the public supporting such a measure. But then again, when you bring up all the other pork in that bill, I guess it's something that probably isn't going to go very far. Could be just a pipe dream. Sorry, couldn't resist. Thanks, panel. That's it for our Conservative 5 panel today. Check out our other C5 shows and segments on your favorite video platform, YouTube, Vimeo, Rumble. We're on them all, as well as Liberty Nation has its own Roku channel where you can see all of our TV productions. Thank you for tuning in, and remember to surf on over to libertynation.com. Join us on the Member Zone, just $17.76 for the year. Special thanks to our fantastic editor and post coordinator, Frank Diorio. I'm Sarah Cowgill. Thanks for joining us today. This has been a production of libertynation.com, where truth is making a comeback.